Sentinels just got a historic win over Gen G, knocking them out of champions in Seoul in front of their home crowd, and I still don't think people appreciate how well Sentinels were playing during this game. Yeah, it wasn't the greatest performance from Gen G you've ever seen in your life, from individuals, but I really want to showcase some of these rounds to show you how beautiful they were. And we gotta start at the pistols. We're going to be talking a lot about pistols and bonuses in this video, because Sentinels won 4 out of 4 of the pistol rounds, and then converted 4 out of 4 of the bonus rounds as well. That's absurd momentum. Absurd. It's very difficult to win, even if you were the better team against that, if that happened. But I think on the day today, Sentinels was simply better. So let's take a look at this. So this is round 1 of Lotus. And you'll notice that double sheriffs have been picked up by Sentinels right off the rip. And that's something that I want to highlight, because it's Gen G that actually came up with this strategy. Or at least, at the very least, popularized it. They tend to run a lot of double sheriff kind of stuff. They've been winning the most pistol rounds out of any team in Valorant recently. And they've also been converting their bonuses at a crazy rate too. These sheriffs are super good at being able to take long-range fights very consistently. Double body shot is normally good on the pistol to be able to convert these. So that's how they open things up here in round 1. Lakia goes for a jiggle peek over towards the standard position that you would on site, and JohnQT just kind of rips his head off after Sentinels look to retake a little bit of rubble control. They don't get drawn into anything early towards the beginning of these rounds. It's just a great opener, and then a great read of how Gen G like to play the retake on A. So I'm going to skip forward to when Lakia is fighting. You see him here in this position that's going to be incredibly important, because he's trying to deny these Viper wall-up contact reclears of A. He gets some good information, throws out the Prowler, but then as he backs off... Sorry, let me just play that for you again. As he backs off, you can see him on the minimap here. He's just trying to jiggle peek this position, and he ends up getting caught by a sheriff shot. And he's going to be thrown in some jump peeks and then go for a jiggle, and John just catches him with a beautiful shot. Wouldn't have found a kill with any weapon other than the sheriff. And now, as they go into the site, this next part is super crucial. They were tucking Zekken into very deep angles on site, so that when Gen G commit to the site retakes, they kind of get caught by Zekken in these really forward positions. If you think back to what they were doing at Madrid, where Sentinels were absolutely playing their best, and Sentinels were always trying to interrupt the retakes of their opponents, especially teams like Carmen Corp, Heretics, these teams that had such heavy retake styles as Sentinels themselves did. The other crucial aspect is this here, Tens. Tens played a blinder, one of his best games in so long, getting so many impact kills, but it's his awareness here that is so important. Meteor loves dropping into pit. This is something you could spot out by watching any VOD of the way that Gen G like to play on Lotus. Meteor loves to play pit, waiting and denying this space away from the post plant players so that his teammates don't have to check this area, and then he's not going to face until the rest of his team are ready. But his hand gets forced. When Tens jump spots like this, suddenly Meteor realizes he's got to take a fight. He misses it, then he gets paranoia naded, and he's dead. Tens also throws in another couple of, jump peaks there to be able to take down Munchkin as well. But they're getting ahead of what they expect Gen G to be doing, reading their tendencies and punishing them for it. A really nice pistol round opened up with some good skill, and then some good awareness of their opponent. And in round 3, if we move things forward to the bonus round, I suppose it bears mentioning here as well that Zekken went crazy in round 2 to be able to get up a showstopper for round 3. We're going to talk about this further on Icebox, but it's not just the fact that they won pistol and bonus Sentinels. It's the fact that the right players got the kills. And some of that's going to be luck. Zekken happened to be in the right place at the right time in the pistol round, but now he's got 5 ult orbs and he goes hunting for these eco kills to get his showstopper online. He specifically takes a more aggro position on site, has a paranoia, pushes into them to try to get more and more ult points online. They snowball so rapidly here, not just because they're able to, carry momentum into the bonus, but because they have this ult. And then on Icebox, they have a Sova ult on defense. They just always have the right ultimate for the right situation in these spots. Some of that's luck, some of it's putting yourself in the right position. So now Zekken has his showstopper, and so you're expecting this showstopper to be coming through on C. Usually, teams like to mix it up a lot though, and I think it's important here to notice, as we see a little bit of B pressure, it fades away, they group up, they go over towards C. It's important to look at what Munchkin does here, because I think it's very easy to criticize Munchkin's decision making as being stupid against a showstopper, because he's tucking himself into a corner here where, honestly, he's just going to get cooked if anyone spots him. But the reason he's tucking himself into this corner is because normally the pathing with a showstopper is going to be, you know, oversight, down this corner, around the back. You're expecting anchors to play in backside positions or where Meteor currently is, and you're looking for them to escape out in spawn or escape out through waterfall. And so you're thinking about that as the Raze player, of hunting those players down, making as much space for your team as possible. So Munchkin's thinking, if I can pop this Viper Orb, cross over to the other side, here's the Viper Orb, it's only up for a very small period of time as he crosses, to get himself tucked in the corner. The idea is Meteor's going to bait, Zekken's going to single-mindedly go after Meteor, and I'm going to be able to shoot the guy in the back, and we should be able to hold on to this. I'll be able to get the kill on the Raze, throw down a Snakebite, and we'll be fine. Actually, he's already used a Snakebite earlier in the round. But that's the general idea. Now, the reason it doesn't work at all in this spot, I think, is because Sentinels have a great read again. When the orb goes up for such a small period of time, somebody makes the call here, check the left side. And so the Prowler comes through, clears left, instead of clearing Waterfall or something like that. They spot where Munchkin is, and he just goes down. Yes, it's actually Zelsis that ends up getting the kill, not Zekken, but it's the same point that the showstopper forced out that early kill, and then they snowball in. Like I said, you don't have the Snakebite. There's no Nano Swarms really stopping the entry, and the showstopper didn't get countered. And now this avalanche is coming forth onto Gen G. So a really good way of building momentum early on in this game. Gen G do manage to respond in the next round by using their own showstopper to be able to get through and flood defend. I'll just quickly show you a highlight of that. They're managing to delay onto the site here on C. This is much more of a standard C hit. Munchkin manages to find one, and here comes a showstopper in. It stops the others from the choke point from being able to engage, isolates TenZ. He goes down. Texture even manages to find one with the showstopper in the end as well, and they convert a really nice thrifty round here. Gen G are still going to give you big rounds where they fight back, no matter how well you play. But let's go into round 5. On round 5, Sentinels are going for, I think, another thing that defined the way that they played, which is that they're throwing fakes in, small fakes, not big site fakes that are like, you know, the way that Finesse would create these beautiful fakes that all use the same pieces of utility, and yet he was going in a different direction. These are much more subtle. And the reason that it works against Gen G is because Gen G have been making awesome defensive reads from Munchkin all year long. They've been the best team at figuring out what the attackers are going to do way earlier than everybody else. Now, how do they do that? What they do is they read into really small tendencies. A single piece of utility here. A piece of util that doesn't have the right follow-up. Somebody checks, feels like a fake, they take a risk, it was a fake, now we can figure out what's going on with the attackers. It's this like much smaller, subtler game that Munchkin really likes to read into, but even though they're risks, they're working out much more often than they're not. But in this game, Sentinels punished them for taking those kind of reads and making a harder read on their defense side. So in this situation, they're going to fake an A reclear. So let's watch the round play out. Gen G take rubble control. Sentinels respond by going over and taking mount control. This is super standard. The attacking team takes mount because it's easier. Defending team takes rubble because it's easier. And then you go into your standard game. Do you break the killjoy utility? Do you reclear A? Do you open door and try to pressure B? All of these different kind of options available to the attacking team. So what they're going to go for is they're going to fake an A reclear of rubble while walking into B for a pick. So the idea being here that when you fake A, you're pulling resources towards rubble, and then you're going to find a weaker B site. You just threatened C, so there should be 2 players over towards C. You know that they've got positioned over towards rubble, and when you threaten that, there's going to be 2 players there as well. So you see here in the round, The Prowler is coming out. The wall is going up. They're really trying to put pressure onto Texture and Karen to hold on to this position. But this is not where the main body of Sentinels is going. The main body of Sentinels is around the front of B as Zelsis and Zekken look to try to walk in and see if they can create a pick. Gen G have responded to this pretty quickly by getting off the C side, so this early pressure hasn't kept people super anchored.
The rotations being in full effect. Look, 3 members facing each other in front B.
But here, pressure over towards A, walk in on B, get the pick. Now, when Meteor gets the kill on Zekken there, though, you realize, wait a second, that was the guy we were supposed to have anchoring C. And so immediately Sentinels are thinking C is open. So they're going to make the pivot over towards C because they've spotted the C anchor on B. Meteor realizes he's left that gap, and so he tries to beat them in a foot race, pops his nanoswarms, realizing what Sentinels are going for. But Sen commit into this, and they block off this waterfall flood. This is really crucial as well. You see this nanoswarm that's popped here? This nano, Zelsis has been throwing this a lot. Much more than other teams as well, actually. And it stops these players that he knows were over towards B and waterfall area from getting back into the site. Normally, you wouldn't have too many people who are able to cover this. Obviously, TenZ is also in position to cover this. But they're putting a premium on stopping the defenders from getting in through waterfall to try to defend. They're pretty confident nobody's over towards CT because they've just seen them do the ping-pong rotates between B and C, of which waterfall is the best connector for that. So they've managed to engineer a pick through B that was disguised, making it look like a reclear. Now they've found their opportunity by using that information that Meteor was on B to find an entry into the C site as well. They've blocked off the flood. They even throw down the Viper Orb here to put extra pressure over towards waterfall as well.
With the swing on the trade.
And then this round ends up coming down to a series of trades. Even though Sentinels have set themselves up really nicely, the rest of this round is incredibly close. Texture goes in. That goes 1 for 1. There's another fight here that goes 1 for 1 as well, as Sassy picks off Lakia and then gets traded by Karen. Comes down to a 1v1 between Karen and JohnQT, and I want to pause here again because this is another thing that was going well for Sentinels during this game. So many spots where we normally expect over the course of 2024 for the Gen G players to simply win, to simply be better in these spots. It doesn't matter that the plant's down, doesn't matter that the clock is on JohnQT's side. For the majority of this year, we have seen players like Texture, like Karen, and like Meteor, mostly those 3, win an outsized amount of not just clutches, but impact duels. And in this game, it did not go this way. Sentinels had the read. They found the moments to have these big impact kills, these big impact clutches, and so pushed close situations also to their side. They're playing amazingly even to get into close situations, but then they have the extra bit to go over the line with them too. Let's go forward to round 6, because this is a fake mound take. So the mound take that they ran in the previous rounds has a smoke that goes down here, a haunt that goes in one of a couple of positions, but let's say up top here or up top here. And then it's going to have, you know, a prowler, sometimes maybe a boombot, this kind of thing. So they're going to make it feel like defenders take rubble, attackers take mount. They're going to make it feel like the very standard macro that they play. But in fact, Sentinels are disguising it. The Viper Wall is going to go up, and they're going to contact with 4 players into A to try to get a punish on these rubble defenders. And it's really important that this mound pressure feels real. So smoke goes through from TenZ. Haunt is used. Prowler is used. Wall goes up. Karen's sightline is blocked. Look at the defensive rotations here. Texture has immediately left the A site and is making the wraparound to go towards C in this spot. They're expecting this to be a C hit. The classic mound pressure has worked perfectly, and Gen G, like I said, are more happy to make these reads based on smaller things. You have to be very good with your fakes on the attack side to sell it, and they absolutely have. They've sold it completely. Karen's got no support in this situation. It was a bad series from Karen, but he's also getting put into spots like this because of Sentinel's macro and the strategy. And this is another point that I want to bring up during this video. Individual performance is not separated from strategy and tactics. It all weaves together. Bad strats create bad individual gameplay because you're put into bad positions. It's a 2v2, ends up being a pit situation, Again, Zekken tucks himself into this kind of like under heaven spot, which is a good value position for a team that likes to get into aggressive positions and use their opportunity. It's a 2v2, pits down, really, really tough for Gen G to win, and Tens picks off these final two players.
Just a little bit further back, his Meteor waltzes into his death, right into the crosshair of the controller.
And I want to give another opportunity here as we go into round 7 to just throw some bail towards Lakia, who had horrible statistics. Absolutely horrible statistics. But he was trying to play these situations pretty coherently. He's not the best player on Gen G. In fact, I think he's the worst player on Gen G. I think his movement is pretty far behind a lot of top pros in the game. But he plays his util and he plays his positions very smartly, and that didn't fail him again in this round. Round 7, Lakia literally wins them this on a thrifty by making sure that they can't do that same thing they just did of contacting up behind the Viper wall. You see Lakia's position here. It's pretty similar to what he tried to do on the pistol round as well. He's holding near root. So draw your attention. This is kind of like fake pressure over towards C. It's Lakia that we want to be looking at in his position on root. He's trying to get a position to where he can see past the Viper wall. He's en route. He's going to throw prowlers. He's going to get this info behind the one-way. And he doesn't want to get blocked off by JohnQT's wall. So as this pressure comes into him, he does a great job in this spot of gaining information, keeping his players rooted to the spot on A, and then throwing down a good C's. He's got quite a bad re-swing in this spot, and he doesn't end up even... I think he gets 1 kill out of this situation or something. He's like 2 and 5 at this position in the game, but he actually wins Gen G their second round. This is a fake, again, that JohnQT's trying to run. Fake B control as they contact into A. You can see the amount of elaborate plays that Sentinels are running, even on an anti-eco round here. Here's that contact play. Lakia covers it, throws out the C's afterwards as well, re-swings back in, which is probably not that advisable, but look at the time on the clock. There's like 15 seconds left, and Lakia was making sure they couldn't get into A behind that Viper wall the entire time. So literally wins them this round 7, despite Sentinels still trying to cook up a really good macro idea. So let's move things forwards again, and I want to show you another really nice round here again. So they're going to look to pressure over towards Rubble. This is the first time really that they've done things backwards, where they pressure Rubble and have the watchful eye on C. Texture is deep in this position. This is a really dangerous angle. Normally, it is the Killjoy that we see dying in these kind of spots. The Killjoy player's job is to make sure that nobody pushes out much deeper than this. They're allowed to get onto this kind of line. People should be aware of that, but they can't get much deeper than this. And so if Texture over peaks, or if they want to go and try to reclear this area, it's going to be on Zelsis to jump spot, jiggle peek, and try to bait a shot out of Texture and then punish. In this situation, though, he really smartly just tucks himself close to the wall and trades out Sassy. And you'll see that Texture doesn't realize when he picks off Sassy in this position, he's thinking the closest player is there. Actually, the closest player is Zelsis, who you don't have X-ray vision at the moment, but Zelsis is like here. He's really close to this wall. He's not jiggling, he's not jump peeking, but he's able to run down Texture before he can get set up for this second shot. You see Texture blast packs away, Zelsis is already on him before Texture can even go for the quick scope. And that's C completely open. But Sentinels don't just take C and, you know, remain happy with their lot. They pop the showstopper to stop the flood defend from coming through, even though the site should be clear in this position, because the plant needs to go down. And now, as Meteor spams with his Guardian from Waterfall, as soon as the Guardian spam comes through, they've already got set up into a position to cook him. Tens has immediately gone backwards to set up this paranoia play into Waterfall. They're going to throw a nanoswarm over the top as well to pinch this player into the corner. Look at Meteor in this spot. What percentage chance does he have to win in this position? He's nanoswarm, pushed into a corner, blinded as well. Even if he had a teammate to play off, that teammate would have been blinded. It's almost impossible for Meteor to survive in that spot. And it's so crucial in the meta right now, because getting the plant down in these kind of positions is tough against Waterfall spam. So you need, as the planting team, to have a proactive strat that you run to make people scared to spam you. Meteor should now be scared in future rounds to go for that spam because he's going to worry about getting punished. And that's going to make future plants easier. Or if they continue to spam, they can keep trying to get picks like that on the players in Waterfall. Again, beautiful thinking ahead, already having the counter to the current meta way of playing. Really, really nice stuff from Sentinels.
Still, that nightfall in play, and
So let's move things forwards then to round 9.
I mean, yeah, a little bit more.
And I just very shortly just want to point out this smoke that TenZ throws here. So this is a smoke. We can take a look at it on the minimap when he throws it. And this is one that Boaster has been running. And it looks a bit weird, right? It's kind of like half off the map, half in a wall. It's super weird. Like, it doesn't block information from the defenders. The defenders can, if you don't pop the Viper wall, the defenders can still see fully down here. It's like, it's a bit of a head scratcher. The point of it is that when the defenders throw their haunt, you can still be safely inside this. And so TenZ can throw out a teleport with this smoke, and it's very difficult for the defenders to know whether you're really in there. You might end up as the defenders having to commit a raise nade to it just to clear it. Or if you don't, you're just always going to be a little bit worried that TenZ might swing through it with a teammate at some point. And then can you really justify holding with all of your attention on the choke point, worried you're going to get shot in the back by a guy coming out of this smoke? So this is the reason that Boaster's been running it a lot on Fnatic. I think it's a very smart smoke to run. I think most of the time it should be a fake, and then occasionally it should be real. Maybe like 1 in 5 times, 1 in 3 times it should be real, something like that. And that's how Boaster runs it and gets a lot of success out of it too. So again, Sentinels incorporating cutting-edge meta stuff into their game that a lot of other teams are not going for right now. Let's move on to round... let's just show round 10, because just to showcase that this wasn't Gen G like playing like shit, look at what Texture pulls off in this round. One of the best op rounds you will ever see in Valorant, all within 10 seconds.
Any skin, any blood, and nothing found.
Beautiful double kill.
Better late than never, I guess.
Dodges the C's. Amazing flick. Unbelievable second flick onto JohnQT. Dude, you got a guy doing this against you, and not just Texture, but also you've got Karin and Meteor, who are normally outrageous players, and you've stopped them having this level of impact to win the game. It's incredible. It genuinely is incredible. And I want to end in this attacking half from Sentinels by looking at round 12. Round 12 had some kind of bullshit to open up the round, but then I think it had some interesting stuff after that as well.
5-1, Doug.
So
Gen G, they brought it all the way
JohnQT is going to go for this Odin spam at the start of the round, which is a generally really good thing to be going for. He is going to catch Lakia in the midst of all of this through the wall, pardon me. So he gets this opening kill. That's also a little bit bullshit in my opinion. It feels like certainly Texture should have been able to trade that with the showstopper. John, I think, gets very lucky in that spot that he doesn't just go 1-for-1. But all right, you're in a 5v4 and you've baited out the defensive showstopper. So fair enough, you've done it. And this is where the real excellence is showcased again. And another reason why I want to point out that it wasn't just Karin and Meteor having bad days, it was Sen playing unbelievably well. Because Karin's going to do the same thing we saw from Meteor earlier on in the game, where he tries to get in front of the Viper wall to stop Sentinels contacting into A. So his one way is up, Karin comes closer to root right now, and look at his positioning. His idea is, this Viper wall, if it goes up, I'm going to step to the right of it, which is where the players are going to be coming through, and I'm going to be able to get a kill, fall off the root, and then I'll be protected. I can even maybe teleport away. I can, survive in that kind of spot while still holding down, gaining information, and maybe even getting a kill out of it as well. Ideally getting a kill out of it. Look at this entry from Zekken. It's fucking bonkers. It's also perfectly timed with the smoke going down. Karen doesn't have a chance. He doesn't have a chance. What is that? I mean, Karen's rookie of the year, and he's not handling that even on his best days. It was just a blinder of an entry from Zekken. And that after having already created a player advantage at the start of the round and gotten a bit fortunate with John not dying. Sen then also have amazing spacing and trading to close this out. One wide peek from Sassy. He swings backwards as the rest go forwards. Zekken crosses up. So now you're setting up a double peek onto Munchkin, which the Odin can't deal with. Meteor's picked up as well. This is prime Sentinels in terms of their teamwork and spacing and their entrying. It's masterful, and they're still only up 7-5. It's unbelievably good gameplay from Sen, and they won pistol and they won bonus, and they're only up 7-5. The idea that Gen G was just, completely playing like shit and gave it to Sentinels, I think is straight up wrong. I'm only going to go through Lotus in this video because we're already going kind of late, but I want to talk through round 13 here. Again, let's talk pistol, let's talk bonus. This round is pretty beautiful, to be honest. Let's go into it. It's a read on a previous similar pistol round that Gen G have run before. Gen G ran a pistol that looked a bit like this against Heretics. They ran a 3-player mound, 2-player rubble pistol strat. The thing is, in the Heretics game, the defenders just decided to fight these players over towards rubble. It was Karen in that situation. He ended up dying, and Heretics were able to get a big advantage out the back of it. Now, in this situation, it's Munchkin and Texture that are going to be fighting over towards A, while the other 3 make it feel like it's Mound. So remember, in Gen G's head here, this is supposed to be like fake mound pressure, then we go back towards A, and the idea is that these A players will be able to cement themselves into good spots like this and this, or this and this, like some pushed up positions where they can play around cover and these guys can come and backfill the space. That's the idea of the pistol round strat. And look at how Sentinels deal with it. For starters, they only have 1 player over towards C. That's John. There is mound pressure. He decides to back it up. They realize in that moment that Zelsis takes contact that it's Texture over towards A. That's not a normal lurk player. That indicates that the mound pressure was a fake. That indicates that their read on the pistol round was correct. They've got 3 or even 4 players, to be honest, once Sassy gets involved, stacked over towards A right now, expecting an A pistol strat. They're right in their read as soon as they see Texture. They know that. And so, as things go quiet on the A site and Zelsis throws in some jump spots, they decide to re-clear over towards A. At 1:18 on the clock, Viper Wall goes up, they break the door, Texture gets caught here from an unconventional position from Zekken, and they've re-cleared all of this space. And they've also found the perfect timing just as Gen G were about to reinforce their A players, but hadn't got there just yet. It's really well done.
When will they kind of fold under the pressure?
This is now a 3v3C retake where Gen G look to try to take some waterfall control, and Tens is the playmaker in this round. Follow how Tens paths in this round. The rest of his team's looking to take this fight towards waterfall, and generally the retakers here are trying to feel out like which area are the post plants fighting for. Alright, they're fighting for waterfall. Let's quickly take some spawn control. The protocols are all really good, but it's Tens pathing who comes through here, deals with anybody that might be playing Mound, and picks off Karen. It's a 2v2, and if Tens had not taken down Karen in that moment, they probably wouldn't still have an easy way of dealing with this. It would have been much scrappier. The advantage would have been for Gen G. They would have been able to play a post-plant situation, but Gen G did not respond to Tens opening the door, and Tens got a freebie, again with a Sheriff. A Sheriff! Stealing Gen G's strategy and using it against them of doubling up on the Sheriffs in the pistol round. And this is where Gen G make the mistakes, because Gen G then fuck up their buy by going for a Hero Vandal and a Marshal in this round. And the problem with this is, not only does it hurt Munchkin's economy, not only does it hurt Meteor's economy a little bit as well, it's also going to make the round winnable enough that they commit utility to the round. And so when they lose anyway, everyone's economy is fucked. You look at what they do in this spot, and I mean, it's a bit of a slow-paced round, so I'm going to skip it forwards just a little bit. Zekken doesn't quite get caught by the C's nade, so they've used C's in this round. They're going to go forwards a little further here. They're going to use a Prowler in this round as well. They use Paranoia in this round too. This is a fairly expensive round right now. If Texture had been able to get the kill on Zekken, maybe this round goes a little differently too, but Zelsis stands tall, has a fantastic play in this spot to be able to take down 3. And it just ruins Gen G's economy. They took a gamble in this spot. The gamble didn't pay off. And now they're kind of screwed for round 15. It's going into Sentinels bonus again. And look at the economy that Gen G have to work with. They're coming in here with Munchkin bought the Hero Vandal, so he's got a Stinger. Meteor bought the Marshal, so he now has an Outlaw. And Lakia had to use his Seize and his Prowler, which he had to rebuy, and so now he's only got 25 and the Guardian. They didn't even, I don't think they even got the plant down, though. I could be wrong on that. At the end of the day, though, none of these weak weapons even matter that much, because what happens in the round, in reality, this is a disadvantage they've set themselves up for, but in reality, what actually happens is they just lose a rubble fight. There's a duel that happens over here where Zelsis manages to win the Outlaw battle against Meteor, despite the fact that the winner had light armor. We never get shown this on screen. I have no idea how that happened, but c'est la vie, I guess. But the actual fight here is indicative of another thing that Sen have done, is to anti-strat Gen G's Rubble take really nicely. Texture always double blast packs like this. Karen always TPs up here like this. And then the rest of their players are going to try to path upwards. Munchkin in this spot is trying to break the haunt that's presumably going to be landing up top here. That's what he's thinking. And because Gen G do this formula very often on their Rubble fights, Sentinels have come up with a specific strat to deal with it. They're going to molly here, they're going to seize here, they're going to nade here, and they're going to haunt in a variety of different places, to be honest. But I think in this round they haunt on top of the pillar. And they absolutely poo on Gen G in like every Rubble fight that happens during this match. If Gen G and Sentinels played again, Gen G would mix things up, but they weren't fast enough with adapting in this, and Gen G had lost out to the prep that Sentinels did. This is why you get funky results and revenge matches coming out on top, because the team that does the most prep and comes up with a specific ante almost always wins in this fucking game. Because it's way easier to have done the adaptation before time, when you have all the time in the world to think about it and talk between yourselves and try out a bunch of stuff. Trying to figure out stuff on the fly is way, way more difficult. So when a team has an advantage like this based on the prep, and the teams are close in terms of their skill, they do tend to find the win in these spots. So you see, Haunt goes up, Munchkin dies shooting at a non-existent Haunt. He's spamming his Stinger up towards the roof, but I mean, he's not even getting it here. And the one criticism you could make of Gen G in this situation is that they don't really sync their peaks up very well together. What you get in this kind of a spot is Lakia goes for a peak. He's got the Guardian. It's about the only time where their economy problems rear their head, is that he's not favored in that fight. So he's peeking there into 2 players. He ends up dying. And then you see Karen take a peek without Texture peeking. So they're peeking one by one. Karen's going to try to trade out Lakia, but he's a bit slow. He ends up peeking into 2 as well. But he does manage to get 1 kill out of it. And then Texture is also swinging into 2 players. Although, you know, Zekken's in the middle of his jump animation. So really, he's just taking a 1v1 and he ends up losing it in that spot. But I think the big takeaway there is less so about the rifling towards the end and more so about how much Sentinels were in control. They put so much util pressure that they were able to maintain the angles the whole time, and Gen G had to swing into them. So Gen G are swinging into people, double, triple facing them, because the Sentinels Rubble fight was simply better. I want to skip through a few rounds here and land on round 18, which I also thought was showcasing, again, that like individual impact element of this game. Which I think was important. And again, it's Tens who comes up with a big impact kill in this round to really change who's favored in the situation. So going to skip it a bit forward again. But it's a retake scenario. Sentinels are coming in. And it's a very difficult retake. Even though they're in a 3v2.
He's got to be the one that gets on the spike.
Tens is going to smoke for his team. And this kill that happens right there as Tens peeks onto Karen. If that goes the other way, if Karen's having a better day, if Tens is having a worse day, if Karen is a better player than Tens, as he has been for the majority of the year, no Tens hate, he was amazing in this game, but Karen has been better for the majority of the year. If he continued being better in this match, kills like that Suddenly, you're in a 2v2 scenario where the post planters can swing from both sides. Zekken can't keep holding this angle confidently because he's worried about Karen now swinging him, and Sassy's sticking the defuse. Zekken probably goes down, maybe goes 1-for-1, and it's a scenario where Gen.G are favored. Kills like this are where the individual takes over, where the rifling is super important, and where Sentinels today ended up getting the better end of things.
He's got it here the entire way through.
I'll show you another example of a similar thing, but the other way round, actually. This is round 21 showcases what you would normally expect from Texture and from Karen, and it just wasn't present that often during this game. If you watch, we'll scroll back a little bit further as well because this entry is just phenomenal. You know, Tens is in a great position in this spot, does a lot of damage. Texture absolutely owns him. You're taking a look at what Texture and Karen do here. Texture so weak, destroys Zekken. Karen swings into Sassy. These are the kind of things that you expect Gen.G to do because they've done them all year, but actually Sentinels were better than them for the majority of the match, where this one was an outlier, not the norm, and usually it's the norm. And I just want to finish by showing you another absolutely extraordinary moment from this final rubble fight. This is the final round of the map. Let's just set up the context. It's another Tens glaze. The timing that Tens has to get this kill onto Texture is miraculously small. So what they're going for here is, it's again, they're reading into the same rubble take from Gen.G.
It's a force.
Alright, so I'm going to wait until we're in the overhead cam. So Texture's going to go for this double blast pack that we've seen him do a lot. Karen's going to go for the teleport up top here. They've got the Viper wall that they pop. The others are going to walk behind it. Very standard stuff. The same things that Gen.G has been doing on their rubble takes basically the whole time. They're going to be throwing very similar pieces of utility. Viper Molly here, C's here, Nade back here. But the difference in this scenario is that Tens is going to swing in front of the Viper wall and try to catch a timing on Texture as he double blast packs. And so with that context in mind, take a look at how he pulls this off. Paranoia thrown, pulls his gun out. What is that? Can we just look at the frames he even had to make this shot? He's got to throw the Paranoia out. So his Paranoia is in his hands right now. Throwing the Paranoia. You know what? I need to move my cam because you guys can barely even see this. Alright. That's probably been a problem at other points during the video as well, but fuck it. Alright, so Tens is going to throw this Paranoia out, look. There he is. Paranoia thrown out. Immediately transitions over to the Guardian. Has to push through and in front of the Viper wall. And he has probably just about now got eyes onto Texture. Right? This is just about where the map geometry is going to work. Maybe it was like here or something instead. Look at this attacking Paranoia that's coming towards him. How many frames is it even before it gets to him? It's like 10 frames before he's nearsighted by this Paranoia. And yet he's still somehow able to land this shot on Texture, who's blast packing forwards through the air. He hits a headshot with the Guardian. And you see how that all of the rest of this utility stops any level of follow-up. They can't really punish Tens for doing this and going for it, taking the risk. It's not even a risk. Because if Munchkin pushes, he's going to be vulnerable. He's going to get seized. There's a nade coming towards the back as well to catch Texture even if the shot doesn't catch. It's beautiful stuff. It really is. And it's a phenomenal shot. And I'm a little gutted we never got to see his POV of it. Never got to see, sorry, his POV of it. Because that looks like a tournament shot.
Great bounce falls, and now the ult popped, but it looks like it's a little short.
So, Sentinels are winning these rubble fights whenever they want to. Here, they also predict that they're going to go for the re-clear after the showstopper, which is an unusual thing to go for. Gen.G are trying to be unpredictable by going for that timing, right instantly past the showstopper, instead of pivoting away from the action. You know, most teams would run away from the stack of Sentinels, but Sen, as soon as the Viper wall goes back up, think, well, what if they're re-clearing this area? They're just ahead of what Gen.G are doing the whole point. It's fucking beautiful, man. It's fucking beautiful. Buy the bundle.